Away from Tamale, President Akufo-Addo's lawyers on Monday subjected NDC General Secretary Johnson Asiedu Nketia to hours of questioning. Proceedings commenced at 9:30 a.m. when Mr. Nketia entered the box again, but ended after 2 p.m. with a 30-minute break in between. Mr. Nketia is 2020 NDC presidential candidate John Dramani Maham's witness in a case seeking to set aside the election results as announced by EC Chairperson Jane Mensah. Lead counsel for President Akufo-Addo centered his cross-examination mainly on calculating the total valid votes cast from the results declared by the EC and asking whether or not Nana Akufo-Addo got more than 50% of the votes. Court correspondent Joseph Akable has more.
Akufo-Addo, who represents the second respondent's legal team, on Monday continued his cross-examination of Mr. Johnson Asiedu Nketia. It focused mainly on confronting him with videos of various leaders of the NDC making statements that Mr. Akufo-Addo said leads to one conclusion that they believe that Mr. Maham had won the election, yet when they filed a petition in court, they are seeking reliefs that suggest that no one won the election. There was also the bit related to the total valid vote cast. You know that the EC had indicated that the figure of 13.4 million that the EC chairperson mentioned in the declaration was done in error, and rather 13.1 billion was the actual figure. And so there was a bit of a back and forth between Mr. Akufo-Addo and Mr. Asiedu Nketia on that score, and asking him to make some calculation, after which the panel had some questions through Justice Yawapel.
My Lord, the NDC had organized several demonstrations with three main objectives. One,
please, I've not asked you.
The killing of innocent voters at polling stations by security officers, and nothing seemed to be happening. The NDC made that was one of the purposes of the press conference. The other purpose of the press conference.
Please, I have not asked you the purpose, so answer my question. Please, and don't be taking.
Can you restate?
Don't be taking instructions from, lawyers on this side, please.
Please, let's observe. Please, Deacon. Please.
My Lord, I know what I'm talking about.
We are closer to them than you. We've not witnessed anything. Please.
Yes, please answer my question, and you had your opportunity to write your witness statement. So now you answer the questions. You understand?
Please, I'm asking the question again, and I answer according to my ability and what I consider to be the answer to the question.
I'm saying that interspersed between these press conferences,
yes,
the NDC organized a series of demonstrations, the object of which was to...
Team is loaded. You see, it is double barrack. Can't you break them?
Organize a number of demonstrations. Is that so?
Yes, we did.
And one of the clear objectives of these demonstrations was that the petitioner had won the elections and the EC should not subvert the will of the people.
My Lord, the objective that relates to the presidential elections was that the results as declared were flawed. And the commission itself had accepted that the results were flawed, and that's why they kept changing the figures.
All the figures that were mentioned as the valid vote cast and all those things, you were saying if the figures were correct, and that there were inconsistencies in the figures. I want to ask you, now, in your own calculation, what were the total valid votes cast in the presidential elections on 7 December 2020? In your own calculations.
My Lord, those calculations are reserved for a meeting for us to reconcile the figures, because the first respondent herself keeps changing the figures. And so it is when you bring your...
Excuse me, Mr. Nketia, help the court. You see, when you started giving evidence, you said you had all representatives across the 275 constituencies. You said you put agents to use the, yes, and they were to, collect the figures. You said it. Then he's asking you that from that, what figure did you get? You.
My Lord, I haven't brought that figure to court.
Okay. Then, from your own calculations, what were the valid votes cast in favor of the petitioner, to your knowledge?
My Lord, when we discovered this discrepancy, it was difficult to even know which figures are.
You don't know, you just answer. You don't know.
I don't have them here.
Okay, then the last one. What figures from your own calculations did the second respondent get as the total valid votes cast in his favor?
My Lord, I don't have those figures here.
Thank you. That's
the various legal teams spoke to the press at the close of proceedings on Monday.
An exposure on the lack of candor. You heard the 3 questions that the bench asked. That for all that you have said, when you finished your collation, what were your results? When you finished your collation, what were the results that the petitioner got? When you finished your collation, what were the results that the second respondent got? And it was, I believe it will be very surprising to the millions of NDC supporters across the country who were egged on by the same team that they had numbers to prove they had won. Now here in court, when the bench asked those questions, they say that they did not come to court with any of those numbers. They are not still able to put any numbers before the court, despite all that they had said.
We are here challenging the EC on its own figures. Its own figures. What are those figures? There's the 9th of December, there's the 10th of December so-called correction, and there's also the figure in their paragraph 24. And then today we realized that even in some of the constituencies, and they themselves brought out the example, Techiman South, there are errors. So if you ask us, what are our own figures? How are we going to get our own figures based on all these flawed sheets and different figures? And so we stand by what we are saying, that based on her own declaration, nobody got more than 50%.
Hearing continues. So on Tuesday morning, Dr. Michael White will be in the witness box reporting for Joy News from the Supreme Court. My name is Joseph Akable.